All right, 1 week from Monday, Rick Stream and Steve Stenger are going to be here for their first debate to talk about who should be the St. Louis County executive. Steve Stenger joins us now. Good morning, Steve Stenger.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We're going to hold some of the powder in the bottle until next Monday. But first, reaction from the African-American community in North County, this new coalition coming out in favor of Rick Stream, your opponent. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's a couple reasons why I think, though, the individuals who were up on the stage that day chose to come out. A lot of the people who were up there were former supporters of Charlie Dooley in the primary campaign. Mm-hmm. So there's some, I think, disappointment on their part that Charlie lost, and I think they made that evident that day. Mm-hmm. And then that many of the individuals from that same group have asked me to denounce Bob McCullough and, publicly say that he should not be on the Michael Brown case.
Right.
And I've refused to do that because I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Right.
I think that Bob can be fair. I think that Bob McCullough has been our prosecutor for 20-plus years.
Right.
And he's been elected 6 times. And voters just spoke overwhelmingly. And we have a process, and we have to work through that process together.
So they actively came to you and sat down and said, we would like you to denounce Bob McCullough.
Individually, they've done that.
Right.
And I've been in communication with Hazel Irby, the leader of that group,
right,
since the primary. We've had very pleasant conversations. Mm-hmm. And then, we saw what happened the other day.
Right. How much time, one of the criticisms they said here on the show was that you don't listen to them and to their concerns. True or false?
Oh, that's absolutely false. Like as I said, since the election, I've spoken with Hazel a number of times. I've met with some of the mayors mm-hmm. as well, and spoken with them. And it's just
not true.
I think it's really the result of the victory in
So not so much they want Rick Stream, they just don't want you.
Well, I think what they said was that they were sending a message to all Democrats, and I think they said particularly white Democrats that that white Democrats were not listening to their group, and, mm-hmm. and I don't know. I don't believe that that's the case. I mean, I know that from my own experience, I have every initiative that Hazel Irby has supported on the county council, I have also supported.
Every single one?
I mean, I don't think that, there's probably been 2 occasions when Hazel and I didn't agree in her district, mm-hmm. And countywide. And that's over the period of about 6 years.
Right.
We came to a disagreement on some things as we approached the campaign because the county executive was putting some agenda items on the campaign that were politically motivated, and,
right.
and we disagreed on those things. But that was it. I mean,
right.
Other than that, I've been with her consistently.
So how do you think this will affect the outcome of the race? Because as we talked about this earlier, McGraw, you cannot assume that even though this group is backing Rick Stream, you can't assume that all African Americans will now support Rick Stream.
No, you're right. And that's the interesting part about it. Is I think that group that was standing there that day is where those thoughts, frankly, are contained. We've been contacting everyone in St. Louis County, I mean, across geographic boundaries. We've probably made 40,000 telephone calls already mm-hmm. in the campaign into St. Louis County. That's part of our field program. And the sentiments that were expressed the other day are not the sentiments from, St. Louis County.
Right.
Particularly the African-American community. We received quite a few African-American votes in the primary. And I just, can't see that group represents everyone. They've sort of self-proclaimed themselves as the gatekeepers to what they've referenced as North County and African-Americans. And I just don't see that being the case because we have, as I said, made direct contact with voters who are likely to vote, in the general. And those voters are not expressing those same sentiments. In fact, they're being very supportive. And if you were to look at my campaign staff, It's predominantly minorities and predominantly African American. We've got a tremendous amount of support.
Another criticism of you, Steve Stenger, is that you have not gone up to Ferguson. You have not seen what is going on. You have not been to Ground Zero.
Well, that's another complete, falsity. I have been to Ferguson. I've spent a great deal of time in Ferguson. The things that we chose to do, that I chose to do with my campaign team and with my friends, is to go to Ferguson and do some, frankly, I think what you'd characterize as maybe some humanitarian things. We at the Canfield apartments, the residents were sort of stuck there. They couldn't leave because of the events that were going on down the street.
Right.
So we went in there and we bought groceries, and I received some donations from some local from some local supermarkets, and I went in there and we gave out groceries and essential items for a day. We had on other days we went and we stocked the local food pantry, and just going there and basically going on a listening tour on Saturdays and walking through Ferguson and talking to everyone, the cross section of the public in Ferguson. So I definitely have been in Ferguson, and not only have I been in Ferguson quite a bit, I've also attended community meetings related to Ferguson, numerous. And, I think I understand the issues, and I know I can move us forward. And we really need to move forward together, and I think that's also the right thing to do. We have to. St. Louis County faces some real problems, 39,000 job losses, net job loss in 10 years, real lack of economic development, and particularly in North County. They've seen, I think, neglect, and that needs to change, and it can, and it will with me.
Are there any predominantly conservative, predominantly Tea Party organizations that are coming to support Steve Stenger?
I'm not aware of any right now.
Have you reached out to any? Have you sat down with any?
Well, as I said, we have contacted, I'm not kidding you, we contact everyone who's a potential voter in St. Louis County through our campaign efforts, and we're talking to everybody. Because
have you had anybody since this predominantly liberal African-American group supported Rick Stream? Have you had any phone calls from conservative Tea Partiers, right-wing, dyed-in-the-wool conservatives calling you up and saying, now that that's happening, I'm going to support you?
I wouldn't say what you would consider what you might consider to be a high-profile person. I haven't received any calls like that, but as I said, we're contacting Republicans and Democrats all over the county,
right?
And the result's been very good, and the communications back have been great. Very supportive.
How much communication have you had with Bob McCullough in the last couple of weeks and months?
He's been pretty busy, so not a whole lot. It's been, pretty sparse.
Okay. All right, so you're back a week from Monday for the debate, so we'll let you go. I held all the really tough questions for then.
Well, I appreciate it. I look forward to it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, well, bring your flak jacket.
I will. Thank you.
Steve Stenger, ladies and gentlemen. 1 week from Monday, it's the debate. Rick Stream and Steve Stenger right here on the Big 550.